It's your first week at a new job. You're in orientation. You're told what discrimination is, what harassment is, and what bullying can look like. And then you're told something really reassuring. If anything ever happens, report it. You're shown the company handbook, the flow chart, the anonymous hotline, and often someone stands in front of you and says, you can come to me with anything. This is a safe space. We take concerns seriously. And the message is clear. If something goes wrong, the system will protect you. But that assumes people do what they say they're actually going to do to protect you. And a lot of the time they don't. And when that happens, at work, just like anywhere else, people have a survival instinct. And when that instinct gets triggered, we don't all respond the same way. As a doctoral candidate at Cornell University, I study workplace mistreatment and how it can escalate. And one of the most important lessons I've learned is this. When people feel threatened at work, they're not immediately thinking about company policy. They're thinking about survival. Asking themselves, do I fight or do I leave the situation? Fight or flight. We all know this. Many of us learned it in school, but for some reason, we act like our survival instincts clock out when we clock in. They don't. Now, flight is easy to recognize. That's when people quit, they transfer, they quietly disengage. They say, it's not worth it. But fight is a bit more complicated because fight doesn't always mean physical. Sometimes fight looks like this. You document everything, you save emails, you file a complaint, you try to hold someone accountable, you try to get justice the right way. But even that kind of fight is not always that simple. Because sometimes before you can even fight in this way, the system is already slowing you down. For example, you ask HR what the process is, and they say, we'll get back to you. You schedule meetings with leadership, but the meetings keep getting pushed back. You explain what happened to you, and they say, I'm not sure that qualifies. So now, before anything is even filed, you're already being blocked from filing the complaint. And that's not incidental. That's what it looks like when systems make it hard for you to fight back. And when people are being mistreated and they're actively ignored while they're being mistreated, that changes things. Because now harm is not just coming from the person who's choosing to hurt them, it's also coming from the organization who's choosing not to stop it. And here's where it gets more serious. Because people don't always stop at trying to fight the right way. Sometimes people feel like these systems are not working. And when that happens, they don't immediately switch to flight. They don't leave. They don't quit. They stay. And they keep taking it, and they keep taking it, and over time, something changes. Because when people feel disrespected, humiliated, targeted, especially in a place tied to their livelihood and how they pay their bills in this economy, it doesn't just affect their job. It affects their sense of safety, their stability, their ability to take care of themselves and all the people who depend on them. And when survival feels threatened, fight or flight gets stronger. And when people realize that the system is not protecting them and no one is coming to help them, survival takes over. And here's the part we don't talk about. Fighting to survive doesn't look the same to everyone. Not everyone fights fair. And I don't say that lightly. As someone trained to analyze violence and who has worked with the federal government examining violent workplace incidents, let me tell you, workplace violence is real. Now, let me be clear. Most people will never respond with violence. Most people will leave. Most people endure. But when you look at some cases of workplace violence, you see something we cannot ignore. More often than not, the person didn't just snap. They felt wronged. They felt ignored. They felt like nothing was being done. And in their mind, their response was not a knee-jerk reaction. For them, their response felt necessary and it felt justified. Now, those perceptions do not justify their actions, but it does help explain something. If you look at national data, workplace violence is not rare. We are seeing thousands of incidents, including assaults, stabbings, shootings, and yes, that includes coworker on coworker violence. And when you look at how some people respond to these incidents, something even more unsettling appears. In the comment sections, you see things such as, he got what he deserved. That's what happens when you keep bullying someone. They pushed him too far. And those reactions are not coming out of the blue. That's retributive thinking. That's people believing if someone wrongs you, they should pay for it. And those beliefs don't just disappear when people clock in at work. So now we have to sit with something uncomfortable. At work, we are triggering fight or flight responses in people every single day. And we're assuming that everyone will respond the same way. They won't. Some people will leave, some people will file complaints, and some people will fight in ways you did not expect. So what do we do now? It means that workplace safety doesn't start with more security systems, and it doesn't start with more active shooter trainings. Workplace safety is not simply a security issue. It is a culture issue. And culture starts in the moments that people think do not matter. Thus, it starts much earlier. It starts with how we treat people. Because sometimes being respectful is not simply being polite. Sometimes being respectful is being preventative. And you've probably heard this saying before, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. But here's the reality in some workplaces. People are bringing guns to situations that you thought were just words. So if you're thinking, it's not that serious, it's just jokes, it's just workplace drama, I really need you to understand something. For you, it might not be that serious. For someone else, it might be everything. So if you do not take away anything else from this talk, please take away this. If you ever felt like you were being blocked from filing a complaint, it's not in your head. If you ever felt like your concerns were not taken seriously, it does not mean they were not real. And if the system did not respond the way it said it would respond to your concerns, that's not a failure of you. That's a failure of the system. And if we want safer workplaces, grievance systems and accountability cannot be symbolic. And organizations cannot keep treating conflict like conflict will resolve itself. Because if leadership refuses to manage conflict, people start managing it for themselves. And when harm is ignored, it doesn't just disappear. It accumulates. And eventually, it shows up somewhere else. And when it does, don't be surprised if it's not a fair fight. Thank you.